Hey friends, welcome to the Social Society. We are the modern-day marketing agency that has quite literally turned the branding world upside down. Over the past several years, we have been traveling the world working with trailblazers and industry innovators. But our secret is our team. We are about to give you the inside scoop into what we do and who we are. So get comfy, grab a drink of choice, and be ready for some mic drop moments.
Right now, it is 2:22 on 2/2, and welcome back to the Social Society podcast at 2:22 on 2/2. Today, we got Jade and Amanda for the first time. Amanda, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello.
Tell us who you are.
Hey, Social Societies. I'm Amanda. I am your visual assistant on content days and brand immersions. I'm there helping Kyle and Melissa. And then I get to be a second set of hands on set, too, to really help anybody there. So, yep.
Nice.
Our little ray of sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
Aw,
Our ray of
thank you,
sunshine.
guys.
Makes everyone smile because she always has a smile.
Yes.
Today, we're doing a mic drop episode. So another mic drop, which is where we go a little bit off cuff and don't
We don't hold back.
We don't hold back.
Not gonna
We're
hold
not.
back.
We're not business professions. Whenever we do this, we're real people.
Yep.
And today for our mic drop episode, we're talking about mental health and how that relates to us working, not working, how we kind of maneuver the world and professional life and creativity. Creatives, I feel like all of us kind of struggle a little bit mental health wise, like we're all a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
So talking about the crazy creativities, the crazy creatives.
Crazy creatives. Tongue twister.
Yeah.
Save your tongues back.
I know for me personally, I struggle with anxiety and I have anxiety and also been diagnosed with depression, but I think that I'm ADHD and I'm like working with my doctor on that now to get properly diagnosed. I feel like I've had the wrong diagnosis for a very long time, but
Which is really common.
very common,
Unfortunately,
to get
yes.
misdiagnosed. And I feel like for a long time I was misdiagnosed where they had my depression heavy, but I was definitely feeling way more anxious and more anxiety. But from a lot of this studying that I've done, I feel like that's all just a byproduct of the ADHD, more so. But anyways, what about you guys? What do y'all? What's y'all's problem?
What y'all got?
When did it start?
What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
Let's see. So for me, it started with my second born. After that, I'd never really struggled with anxiety. And all of a sudden, like I couldn't even go home. I was like, I had this baby. I already have another one. And I literally couldn't go home. And since then, I have been on different medications. I've also been diagnosed with CPTSD. Which is PTSD, but it's more complex. So it means that it wasn't just one incident that happened. It was a series of events that create the PTSD. So for me, it was just the way I grew up and things like that. So yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah. I as well. PTSD, anxiety, depression, and I'm also autistic, so that it
Did not
stems
know
from
that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Fun fact of the day.
Fun fact of the day: Jade
Your
is
girl's
on
autistic.
the spectrum.
I'm on the spectrum. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting.
I did an
navigating
autism
it all.
survey the other day, which
Yeah.
I'm not, but I relate it to like a lot of probably because of other mental health. But there was a lot of things on there that definitely like get to me.
Yeah. There's a lot of overlap between ADHD and autism as
There
well.
you go. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all crazy.
We're all
Let me ask, how do you feel like both of you, with COVID? For me personally, like my social anxiety magnified times a million. It seems like whatever I had like a little bit going into like 2019, the kind of that it was like a little there, but I could fight through it. I could do what I needed to do pretty easy. And then once COVID hit, it was like exponential. I found it hard to go anywhere, to do anything, and still crowded places. anxiety goes way extreme. But definitely noticed a big jump after COVID. And I know.
Oh, yeah. COVID for me. So last year, I had COVID. And then about 2 weeks later, I had a manic episode for the first time in my life. And I was actually committed to a mental hospital. I spent 4 days there just trying to recover from that. So COVID really, it was a COVID-induced mental health issue. And then after that, I had this very high, and so I had this really low. And when it comes to work, though, I think it's really important that we talk about our mental health and that our people that we work with know what's going on. Because there was one event that I think it was probably the lowest of my depression. We were on an event and I think I just was not there. And Haley came to me later and was like, hey, like, I noticed, you were a little off, what's up? And it wasn't like, what's up? You were off. It was more, I know that there's something going on and what's wrong. And like, so it was very, my voice is shaking.
Oh,
it meant a lot, but it also for the first time made me realize how bad the depression was, that it was now affecting my work, which it had never affected my work before.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I was in school, school was a little different for me, college, because, my dad had just passed away as well. So navigating all of that on top of losing, like my best friend and father was just absolutely wild. But I remember there was just this 1 week where I could not get out of bed. And my roommate was so worried, and she actually had to call my mom and my sister. And they came and they got me and they took me home for a week so I could just like kind of get myself back together. And that was the depression. And then like 2 or 3 years later, it happened again. But then I realized that was the anxiety. And it's so interesting how, like we were talking about, like there's overlap between autism and ADHD. There's also a lot of overlap between depression and anxiety. It's like those days where you just cannot get out of bed. And it's like depression is kind of like, well, I can't get out of bed. Let's just not do anything. Let's just stay cocooned up in here, and never leave. But then anxiety is like we have to do everything. We have to do everything. We have to do it as quickly as possible, and it's just so overwhelming that it's debilitating. And you're just like, I'm gonna stay in bed because what else am I gonna do? Just like even thinking of doing those tasks is so daunting.
Yeah. I think it's like hand in hand, because when I look at like the last 2 years and I think about my depression stemmed like 9 times out of 10 from an anxious feeling over something I had to do. And then that would be debilitating to me. And like work piles up or tasks pile up around the house or whatever. And then I get anxious about, I have this task, and then I don't know where to start. Like my mind I can't focus on any of them. It's like all of these things are just running around and I don't know what to do. I can't do it. And I just like shut down.
Usually we leave. We'll have to go to the store or do something and just go walk around and really break it up. And because it can be very debilitating.
Yeah. How else do you guys deal with it, just cope and, go through it? Like, how do you go through life? What are your outlets?
Well, okay. So we have a Monday morning meeting, every Monday morning, obviously.
No, it's actually every Tuesday.
We have Monday morning meetings
on Tuesdays. Faithfully.
Okay. So it was the beginning of October and Candace was like, okay, we have 2 months left in the year. What are you going to do? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my bed because depression is keeping me in this bed. I don't want to get up. And if I can just get up and make the bed, I can do that. And I have I did not do it today, if I'm being real, but I have successfully.
Too early to make the bed today.
Yeah. So since then, that's been something that's really helped. And I loved that spawned out of just a simple question that Candace asked.
Yeah, setting little goals for yourself, so helpful.
And I think like with the ADHD and the crazy feelings and the anxiety, things that I do that do put structure. I don't like structure. I hate structure actually. Like it doesn't work with me. But when I can do little structured things or tasks that kind of get me in the motion, or like, does that make sense? Like, making my daily coffee is a thing that is a moment that I cherish every day, and then I slow down. I make a pour over every day, so it's not a fast coffee. I have to take my time and I have to like enjoy the process of it, or else I wouldn't make it like that every day. You know what I mean? Like I really have to slow down to let everything go away, and I just make our coffee every morning.
I got spoiled. We're a couple, actually. We haven't mentioned that yet on the podcast.
We're a throuple.
Yes.
We're a
Throuple. But yeah, I'm spoiled, and I get coffee in bed. I pour over coffee in bed every morning.
That's how it should be.
Yes, it is.
It should be that way.
I'm glad you're doing your job, Kyle.
Yeah. She gets usually 2, but that like that part of the day is huge for me. Like if I don't have that part of the day, then I really feel frazzled. Like I have to have that structure, I guess, in the beginning to like, I don't know. And I think we've talked about another podcast before about how like members of our team bring like different assets. And I feel like that structure helps us on the team too. When you brought up working with mental health, which is really, you said, how do you do it every day? The hardest part, I think, is those like, having to be in our society, like, you have these things that you have to uphold, you have to do, we have to work, we have to have jobs. As much as I would love to just be a hermit and stay at home with my kids all day, every day, and not do anything else, like I have to. And being in an environment where like we can have a whole podcast episode just dedicated to like our struggles and how we overcome it or what we do, and having a boss that, Haley will check on us. I had a anxiety attack, probably one of my worst anxiety attacks ever was on a retreat with a client. And as I said, I struggle with going out places. And so that dinner afterwards is really hard for me a lot of times, to go into a restaurant, to be surrounded by all these people. I just feel anxiety the whole time I'm in there.
Yeah.
And it's something that, usually like I enjoy it as well. Like I enjoy those moments with clients, with our team. So I fight through it and I do it. And that night, like we were in Nashville, which, everything is loud and just in your face. And
lights everywhere.
And we had done it a couple of times. Like we had went into a few places and we were kind of just hanging out. And then it got to where every minute it was just like growing and growing and growing.
Getting
and then
bigger.
The next thing I know, I was in a fetal position in a parking lot in the middle of Nashville, crying, like feeling like a failure. In those moments, like imposter syndrome gets me so big. Like, what are you even doing here? You're a fraud. Like, someone like you shouldn't be in this position. You don't deserve this. And, wait till you get back home. And then I get a text from Haley. Hey, you guys want to meet? And I'm like, oh gosh, here it comes. Like, and then it's not that. It's Haley taking us out to coffee and going, hey, like, how are you guys? Like, let's, it's not what I think and what I dread. It's, hey, how can I support you in this? And what can we do? And
we hope you're enjoying this episode. If your content is feeling stale, it's time to breathe some life and energy back into your visuals. Our content days are the perfect way to do just that. Work with our amazing team to capture hundreds of photos and professional video content in just one day. Whether you are launching something new or just need some new photos for your products or brand, we do it all. Head over to our Instagram and send us a DM to reserve your spot.
And I think the more we all talk about it, the more that, jobs can really start to accommodate for mental health, because you accommodate for disabilities and mental health. I mean, it's a serious issue. So
it is a disability, and it can literally be debilitating, like we talked about. But working with the social society is just so great, because we're a family and we know each other. So we know when something is, off or, if someone needs a break. It's so even the event we went to last night, I was telling Chloe, I was like, I had went over to meet a woman who was asking about our soul symbols and, telling her that I was the designer. And then I had just kind of had enough and I slipped out and Kyle slipped right in. And then Kyle slipped out and Chloe slipped right in. And it's just seamless. It's not even just the immersions and when we work. It's just everyday life. We just work like a well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's so cool and incredible. And to have an environment like that has structure but also flow and where people are so deeply caring about you makes it makes it easier to be open about it and to be like, hey, I'm really struggling today. I think I just need to stop. I need a break.
I mean, imagine that there's people that they can't talk about that at work. You may...
It's taboo.
Yeah, it's taboo that maybe, you would get fired or if people knew of struggles or whatever. But it's liberating and freeing to be in an environment where you don't have to worry about that aspect of things and that they understand that aspect of things. It was kind of my first job as a full-time creative. It was really cool because I had a boss that as soon as I started said, hey, if you need to spend an hour looking out the window, you can spend an hour looking out the window. He said, I don't understand creatives and I'm not trying to. So whatever you need to do, go do. And it was really freeing. And I learned how to make videos at that job. I didn't know how to, and but here is kind of almost like that same thing, but not, I don't understand. It's hey, I understand that life is hard, especially in a post-COVID United States. In the world that we live in now, 2023, life is tough, but I understand that. How can I support you? How can I help you? And when that happens, then I'm able to produce my best work, I know, because I feel free and I feel open and able to do so.
Yeah. Now I have a question. Is your creative spirit basically, is it a byproduct of your mental health? Because I know for me it is.
Yeah.
Design came about because I grew up in an abusive household and it was my escape. I could just get out of my head. As I've mentioned before, I was obsessed with One Direction. And
which you mentioned that on 2 podcasts now. Right? You still are obsessed. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Am I still obsessed? Oh my God. But they really did play a big role in my life at a time when I was just really going through it. And I would sit downstairs and I would design things and whatnot. And it was just an escape from my reality. And that's kind of how it I guess it's kind of 2 diagnoses in one, the PTSD as well as, the autism and just kind of being that obsessive and, just being super hyper fixated on something, as well as, just kind of needing to escape my reality and just get out of my head or I guess really get into my head so I can get out of reality and feel safe for once, in some kind of capacity. So that's honestly how I got into design.
Yeah, creativity for me was always an outlet. Growing up, my past was really bad. My father died when I was really young. My mother was diagnosed with AIDS when I was really young, and then she died in my adolescence. And there was just a lot of stuff. But early on, my mom put me in art therapy, and so I was taught to draw my feelings and taught all these different art expressions and was drawn to art, but never knew what it was. I just enjoyed art, and I kind of consider myself a jack of all trades in art for a long time, but a master of none or whatever they call it. I could do kind of everything art. I can draw, I can paint, I could but nothing is gonna sell or win first prize in something. It's just all gonna be okay, yeah, that's good. But it's not great. It's not. And then
might be able to use it as an ashtray.
Okay, that's cool. And then video was completely different. Music though has always too been. I didn't listen to One Direction, But
That's on you.
Yeah,
That's
it's on me.
I have found his character flaw.
So yeah, I think definitely though, creativity has gotten me out of the hardest moments of my life and allowed me. And then video, once I tapped into video, it was like, okay, this is the art expression that I was meant to like find a long time ago. This was the one when you used to get hyper fixated. I hyper fixate on a lot of things. And usually I will for like a little bit, and then I'm on to the next thing. And I'll do that for a little bit, and I'm on to the next thing.
I love it.
But video was like, oh, okay. Yeah, like this
one's going to stick.
This is going to stick for a little bit. And then 10 plus years later, I've had ideas for 500 other businesses, but this is the one I stay with.
This is the one that sticks as well. Yeah. And what about you, Amanda? Because you have, like a coloring book, right? And
so I created a workbook for mental health for teens. It's a boys and girls club. And so I created this workbook that we could talk through their trauma. We could learn different breathing techniques, learn different things. That way, when they're feeling overwhelmed, they know kind of what to do. And it's got a lot of coloring in it because that's soothing. If you're in those moments and you need to soothe yourself, you can just color. And I feel like a lot of the times I'm most creative when I am feeling there's something that's happened and it's affecting me, and I can journal about it. So my creativity is more of a personal, private creativity that I keep to myself a lot. And that's okay. So,
yeah.
And I'm just saying that because a lot of people think that they're not creative because you don't see it. But for a long time, I did not consider myself creative, but I am. It's just in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just how a lot of people don't consider mental health like issues to be a sort of disability, because it's invisible. They call it the invisible disability, but yeah, that makes sense.
Even how she created the book, which it's her story to tell, but she, out of the hospital stay, the hospital sucked. We can go like they were horrible. It was the worst
spent a lot of time in
situation. I cussed multiple people out at multiple different times while she was in there, but they didn't do anything to help her. And so she had to lean on creativity and what she knew to get her through this week stay in this hospital while they neglected her because she wasn't crazy like what they thought warranted a stay in this hospital. But she was out of character for her. So she needed help. But she was but since she wasn't displaying these crazy things, I hate using that word, but they weren't treating her or giving her the attention that she needed and deserved.
Well, and I've been in therapy now for 4 years. I've done different techniques, EMDR, CBT, I think so. Just different techniques. And that's really what got me through that hospital stay, was knowing that I had the tools. I had created the safety for myself. So no matter where I was, I felt safe and I knew what to do. And so that's kind of like, once I had to do that for myself, I tried to mimic that in this journal for teens.
Literally, like the next week, we get a text message that says, "Hey, do you know of a mental health workbook for teens?" And she was like, "No, but I can write one real quick." And so within like a week, she wrote this whole
I was still in my manic episode, I think. I was coming down a little bit. So I had a lot of energy still. And I cranked out this workbook in like a week. But
wow, that's incredible.
It's good.
That's nice.
Good.
Can we?
Well.
Yes. You read my mind.
Yeah. So
you read my mind because I've been eyeing the cards.
Shit's been heavy. Let's
lighten up the mood.
Let's lighten the mood and get a little bit closer.
Let Amanda pick.
With table. Oh,
because I
yeah,
haven't picked yet. All right, let's see.
Carl.
Table talk.
Just like a man.
Name one activity that always brings you joy.
Such a great question for this episode.
So good.
Okay.
I'm glad I picked this one.
I like that one.
Do
you want to go first?
Activity.
Sure, I'll go first. So I love hiking. I do not do it enough, but when I get out there and I'm just in nature, I love hiking.
Or just walking in general.
Or even just walking in general, but really it's being in nature, being away from everything else and just immersing myself in the just nature and getting away from the noise. But
when I can tell that she's in a bad mood a lot of times, I go, "Hey, Didn't you go for a walk?
Let's go for a walk.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should
Relax
start doing that,
outside.
like, ironically. Let's go for a silly little mental health walk, and then, like, it'll actually help me.
Yeah.
You know when you start doing something ironically, and then it ends up, like, being unironic, and you're like, like
you.
TikTok. I got TikTok and was like, oh, haha, what's it all about? And I'm addicted.
Yeah, I had to shut off TikTok. It was too much.
what's your one activity?
One activity. Does cuddling my dog count?
Yes, that definitely bring you joy.
He hates it, but I love it. I just love to kiss his little snoot.
Our cats
He's
hate
so
it too.
What kind of dog do you have?
A black lab.
Oh.
Yeah. He's
Do they shed a lot? I'm just curious.
Yes.
Okay.
His best friend is a golden retriever, and I swear sometimes our dog sheds more.
Wow.
You should see our kitchen.
Huh.
Well, for me, one activity that always brings me joy.
You dirty bird!
I was gonna say hanging out with my kids. Y'all live in mass dodge. Oh,
No, you let us into that one.
Yeah.
You gaslit us into that.
definitely hanging out with my kids though. Our kids, we have 5 kids,
Yep.
and
You have the cutest blended family, I swear.
We do.
Yep.
Yeah, it's factual. No. Recently, we got a basketball goal, and for Christmas,
It's
and
the best thing
just-
ever.
Our kids have been outside all winter, like every day playing basketball. And so like, even though it like wears me out, I've been out there with them like almost every day. I bought this little like green track jacket that I call my coach's jacket. And I go out there with
Just
them
like
and
a
play.
dad.
Yep.
You gotta work on your
like a
lip.
Yep. And we play horse or whatever. And that has like really become just one of my favorite activities because it's something that we didn't really expect. Our youngest made our basketball team at school. That's one of the main reasons why we bought it was so that, we could just, and then bam, all of the kids.
Even the oldest.
Even
she's
the
15.
oldest, she just
She
locks
wants to be
herself
out
in a
there.
room all day and she's out there playing with us. So
Oh, I love
pretty
it.
cool.
it's been great.
That's great.
So basketball with the fam.
Nice.
Yes.
Awesome.
And
Sweet.
that's
Well,
it.
I think that's it for this episode.
We're done.
Mic drop.
If you enjoyed this episode, let's move this relationship to the next level. The friend zone, baby. Head to the show notes and click the link to join our close friends list where you will gain access to knowing where we are, all our adventures, and exclusive pop-up offers at locations around the world. Plus, we hold nothing back on our close friend stories on IG. See you there.